Welcome to the Sky Commander Flight Brief. It's your mission-ready podcast for drone pilot training and aerial insights across Canada.
From Transport Canada rules to real-world drone ops, we break it down, take you higher, and help you earn your wings. Because here at skycommander.ca, we don't just fly.
It hints there's more to it. It's a masterclass, a deeper level, maybe a philosophy or a community focus, perhaps.
It's definitely intriguing, sets them apart from just, a basic tips show. SkyCommander.ca is the obvious next step. Precisely. If you're thinking about flying a drone in Canada, boom, this content is aimed right at you.
Powered by SkyCommander.ca.
The elite podcast for Canada's drone pilot. Okay, let's get started.
Today we're navigating into a truly fascinating and often misunderstood domain, the skies above Canada. Have you ever looked at an airport code, maybe YYZ for Toronto or YVR for Vancouver, and just sort of wondered, why the Y? Why do so many Canadian codes start with that letter? It's actually more than just a fun fact. It's like a historical key that unlocks a much bigger understanding of how our entire Canadian airspace is put together. So our mission for this deep dive is to demystify Canada's special use airspace. These are specific zones up there that aren't just for, planes flying from A to B. These are critical, often invisible areas, and they impact everyone, fighter pilots, drone operators, even just folks like us looking up and wondering what's going on.
Indeed. And to help you get really well informed on this complex topic, we've pulled together a pretty rich stack of sources. We've looked at aviation history, official flight handbooks, detailed regulatory documents, even real-world pilot scenarios. Our aim isn't just to tell you what these zones are. It's about the why they exist, how they function, and really what it means for you as someone using that airspace. Think of it as maybe your essential guide, a shortcut to understanding the hidden rules of the Canadian sky without getting totally bogged down in jargon.
Right. So whether you're thinking about flying a drone for work, or you're a seasoned pilot planning a trip, or maybe you just look up and wonder, get ready. Because, okay, let's unpack this.
The curious case of the Y and Canadian airspace identity.
Let's kick off with that puzzle, that Y prefix. Why is it CY for Canada? Our neighbors down south use KLAX for Los Angeles. It almost feels like Canada just decided to be different, doesn't it? Was it like a conscious thing?
It's fascinating, actually. The Y isn't random at all. It's a direct link back to Canadian history, specifically telecommunications and railways. Before the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, came along and standardized codes globally, this is back in the 1940s, 50s, Canada already had its own thing going. We had this huge network of weather reporting stations, which were absolutely vital, right, given Canada's size and climate. And these stations used a telegraph code system.
Okay.
And in that system, a single Y prefix literally meant, yes, this station has a weather telegraph and it transmits reports.
So it was functional.
Exactly. It was a simple, practical way to tell the active reporting stations apart from the others. And this network was built right alongside the railways, the CNR, the CPR. They were laying tracks and telegraph lines. They were the ones sending crucial weather data, even from remote spots. So Y became this embedded operational shorthand. By the 30s and 40s, codes like YVR, YYZ, YWG, they were already standard language for pilots, meteorologists, everyone involved.
So when ICAO shows up, this big international body wanting to standardize everything, Canada basically said, look, we appreciate it, but we kind of like our Ys. Is that about right?
That's pretty much it. And it actually shows how pragmatic ICAO could be. They assigned C as the regional code for Canada, which fits their global system. But they recognized the momentum, the practicality, the sheer familiarity of Canada's existing Y codes. They were already baked into operations, into safety. So they agreed to just prepend CY for Canadian airports and airspaces.
That's smart, balancing the global standard with what works nationally.
Precisely. It was a compromise that respected the existing infrastructure and avoided mass confusion for Canadian pilots and weather services. A smooth transition, really.
That's really interesting. It shows how these things aren't always top-down mandates. What about the U.S. then? With their K, did they have something similar to RY?
No, not really. The U.S. system grew differently. Their airport codes were usually three-letter identifiers, often based on the location name, right? LAX, SFO. When ICAO assigned regional codes, K was reserved for the continental U.S. Since they didn't have that single-letter prefix legacy like Canada's Y, born from that integrated rail telecom weather system, ICAO just added the K in front of the existing three-letter FAA codes.
So LAX just became KLAX.
Yeah.
Much simpler.
Exactly. A straightforward change for them. And if you look at the bigger ICAO picture, the four-letter system is quite elegant. The first letter or two points to a region: E for Northern Europe, L for Southern, M for Central America, P for the Pacific, like Hawaii, U for Russia. Then the last letters are assigned nationally. So CY immediately flags it. Canadian Airspace Unit, whether it's a big airport or one of these special use zones we're about to discuss.
That's a fantastic bit of history. Shows how deep the roots of these seemingly small details go. And that CY prefix, that's going to be our anchor as we get into special use airspace, right? Like the signpost saying, Canadian rules ahead.
Absolutely. Think of it like C for Canada, Y for, you already know this code. It sets the stage perfectly for understanding Canadian Class F airspace.
Unpacking Class F, the umbrella of special use airspace.
Okay, so CY means Canada. Got it. Now let's talk Class F. When people hear Class F, especially if they're new to aviation or drones, I bet many think forbidden. Is that basically correct?
It's a really common thought, and honestly, it's a useful mnemonic. But technically, no, the F doesn't actually stand for forbidden. It was simply the next letter available in the ICAO sequence when they designated special use airspace globally.
Oh, just alphabetical order.
Pretty much. But like I said, it's a useful memory aid. Lots of instructors teach it as F forbidden, or maybe F Fight Club airspace, or even F Fly Smart or face fines.
Whatever works.
Right. The important thing is knowing what Class F means in practice. It signals special circumstances, Special Use Airspace, or SUA, which is Class F in Canada. It's designated where specific activities need to be contained, maybe for safety, maybe for security, like military exercises, environmental protection, public safety, national security. Stuff that could be hazardous or needs to be kept separate. They're like do not disturb zones in the sky, places where the usual rules might not apply or where extra caution is needed.
Okay, so not always forbidden, but always special and needing attention. That's clear. What are the main flavors of Class F here in Canada? How do we break it down?
Good question. In Canada, Class F gets broken down into three main types.
Yeah.
And importantly, they all start with that CY prefix we talked about. Keeps it consistent. You've got CYR, which stands for restricted area.
Okay.
Then CYD, which is a danger area.
Right.
And finally, CYA, which denotes an advisory area.
R, D, and A.
Exactly. And you can think of it like a traffic light system. CY means Canada, yes. Then R is your red light, D is the flashing yellow, and A is like a caution sign. All these follow the same ICAO code structure, just like airports, but they define specific blocks of airspace, not ground facilities. And you'll find them all clearly defined in the Designated Airspace Handbook, the DAH, and on your aviation charts, like VNCs.
Decoding the big three: CYR, CYD, CYA.
All right, let's dig into these. Starting with CYR restricted airspace. Just the name sounds pretty serious. What exactly does CYR mean for someone operating, say, a drone?
You're right to pick up on that. This is the red light zone, the absolute stop sign. If you're flying anything manned, aircraft, drone, whatever, you are legally prohibited from entering a CYR zone unless you have specific prior explicit authorization from whoever controls that airspace.
No ambiguity there.
None. I think of it like a military base with invisible fences reaching way up into the sky. Regulators can see if you cross that line. CYR zones are set up for activities that are inherently dangerous or classified or need total security. We're talking live weapons firing, intense fighter jet training, supersonic stuff, simulated combat missile tests, or national security around critical sites. Parliament Hill, VIP residences, nuclear power plants like Bruce Nuclear, federal prisons, major naval bases. These aren't places you just wander into.
Okay, and the rules for entry?
Non-negotiable. I really can't stress that enough. You must get formal permission, often in writing. There are basically no exceptions, unless maybe it's a genuine life or death emergency. If you even think you might need to operate near a CYR, you have to look up the responsible agency in the DAH, could be DND, Transport Canada, maybe a specific security branch, and formally request access.
And the consequences if you don't?
They're significant. First, it's a regulatory violation. That means potential hefty fines, losing your pilot certificate or drone license, even having your equipment seized. But depending on the zone, it can get much worse. In critical security areas, you could face criminal charges. It could trigger an immediate response from RCMP or military police. Or, worst case, if it's an active military zone, potentially military interception. The mnemonic is simple. CYR, you're rejected. No entry unless cleared.
That definitely paints a clear picture. Very high stakes. Can you give us some concrete examples, like specific CYR zones in Canada and what a drone operator absolutely needs to do?
Sure, let's look at a few real-world cases. Take CYR 204A, the Cold Lake Air Weapons Range in Alberta. This place is huge, bigger than PEI actually. It's split into sections for different altitudes, used for intense fighter training, live missile launches, even drone warfare simulations. Pilots joke you could fly in Monday and not get out till Friday. It's that big and busy. So imagine you're hired to map a tailings pond, say 15 kilometers southeast of Cold Lake. You plot your drone flight path, and whoops, it clips a corner of CYR 204A. What do? Your only action is, do not enter without explicit prior approval from D&D. You'd need to check the DAH for the contact info for that range, formally request written authorization for your specific operation, and log everything the permission, the exact date-time window you're cleared for. Ignoring that, you risk being detected by serious radar, intercepted, or worse if they're doing live fire. It's a zero tolerance zone.
Okay, that's a big one. What about something urban?
Good example. CYR 523 in Ottawa. This covers Parliament Hill and the surrounding VIP protection zone.
Yep.
It's like an invisible permanent dome. So say you're doing thermal scans on rooftops downtown, maybe just a kilometer from the hill. Even though you're close, you're in a zero tolerance zone. Entry is flat out prohibited without very special federal security clearance. That's rare for commercial drone ops. Even advanced pilots can't just fly there. Your action has to be find another location or reposition your sensors so you're well clear. Violating this could mean immediate criminal charges, not just fines. Security response would be fast.
Got it. Critical infrastructure, too, you mentioned.
Yes, like CYR 517 around the Bruce Nuclear Generating Station in Kincardine, Ontario. Scenario. Your map grid for a shoreline erosion study accidentally crosses into CYR 517. Action. Strictly prohibited. Doesn't matter if the landowner gave permission, airspace is different, you must change your flight path. Breaching this would trigger an immediate RCMP or national security response. Same goes for places like CYR 530 near Kingston Penitentiary. Drones near prisons are a huge no-no due to contraband drop concerns. They have surveillance, maybe even jammers.
Okay. And naval bases, comm sites.
Exactly. CYR 401 Esquimalt Harbor in BC, a busy military port. CYR 496 Saguenay, Quebec, a military comms radar test site active 24/7, so you can never assume it's quiet. And don't forget temporary ones, like CYR 603 near Winnipeg International when a head of state visits. These pop up via NOTAM notice to airmen. And here's the catch. A temporary NOTAM might not instantly appear on an app like NAV Drone. You have to check multiple official sources. It demands meticulous planning and usually high-level clearance that's tough to get for routine flights.
Okay, CYR is crystal clear. Red light, stop, get permission.
Yeah.
What about CYD then? Danger areas? Sounds less strict, but still intense. What's the difference?
This is your flashing yellow light. The absolute key difference from CYR is that entry into a CYD is legally permitted.
Oh, okay.
However, and this is a big however hazardous activities might be happening inside. Things like artillery practice, missile testing, maybe explosives demolition, even electromagnetic warfare tests. The airspace isn't controlled like a CYR where you need clearance, but the risk to you is very real, and crucially, the liability is 100% yours.
Meaning if something goes wrong.
It's on you. If you fly into an active artillery range and your drone gets hit by shrapnel, or gets zapped by an EM pulse during a test, that's your problem, legally, financially, insurance-wise.
Wow.
The entry rule is no formal ATC permission needed, but you must use extreme caution and critically verify the zone status before you go in. The mnemonic we use here is you dare. It's legal, but it's risky, and you own the consequences.
So even without a no entry sign, you need to be super careful. This sounds like it requires active checking, not just assuming. What are some CYD scenarios?
Exactly right. Proactive verification is key because sometimes these zones operate on fixed schedules and might not issue a NOTAM for every single active period you're expected to know or find out. Let's look at CYD 208 Wainwright Military Range in Alberta, known training area. Scenario. You're inspecting a pipeline, route clips a corner of CYD 208. Action. Legally, you can enter. But first, you must check the DAH for its operating hours. Then, crucially, call the contact agency listed, usually Range Control or D&D Ops, to confirm if it's active when you plan to fly. If they say it's inactive, great. Note that down in your logbook, that's your proof of due diligence. If it is active, you divert or reschedule. Simple as that. And even if entering when inactive, keep a sharp lookout. Be ready to bail fast if anything unexpected happens. The classic exam question is, no NOTAM for CYD 208, can you fly? Answer yes, but only after verifying no scheduled activity. Your job is to confirm.
Right, active verification. What about other types of danger?
Consider CYD 502 subfield AB. This is a defense research zone, high-level stuff, weapons trials, chemical dispersion tests, electromagnetic studies, intermittently active but highly dangerous.
Okay.
Scenario. Your farm mapping project overlaps CYD 502. Action. Check DAH, check NOTAMs. But even if there's no NOTAM, you still must call the contact listed. Why? This zone might test things like RF jamming.
Radio frequency jamming.
Yeah, designed to disrupt control signals, GPS, video feeds. It could just disable your drone mid-flight, cause it to crash without warning. You do not want to fly into an active jammer test. Some call it the Bermuda Triangle of Alberta for a reason.
Yikes. Okay. Any others specifically relevant to drones?
Definitely. CYD 306, Churchill, Manitoba. This is a dedicated counter-drone test site.
Testing ways to take down drones.
Exactly. RF interference, GPS spoofing that tricks your drone's navigation, maybe even hard kill systems, physical interceptors. Scenario. You're supporting wildlife tracking near Churchill, area overlaps CYD 306. Action. Unless you're officially part of that testing project, stay out. Confirm test windows, give it a wide berth, make sure your drone's fail-safe return to home point is well outside the zone. Your drone could be deliberately targeted or interfered with. Insurance almost certainly won't cover it unless you disclose the risk and got permission, which is unlikely. If you see counter-UAS or hard kill associated with a CYD, just avoid it.
Makes sense. And there are others like artillery ranges.
Yep. CYD 205 Shiloh, MB, artillery, check status always. CYD 304 Goose Bay, NL, aerial gunnery, check military schedules. Even coastal ones like CYD 101 Cape Breton. NS mostly marine testing, but the airspace above cliffs can have electronic systems or target drones affecting your flight. Or CYD 210 Suffield Chimbayo testing, obviously. Potential chemical exposure risk there too. The hazards vary, so your verification has to be specific to the CYD.
Okay, CYR. Stop. CYD is check carefully and proceed at own risk. That leaves CYA, advisory airspace. Sounds the mildest, but I'm guessing advisory doesn't mean ignore if inconvenient.
You're absolutely right. It's definitely not optional information. This is your caution sign zone. Entry is legal, no prior permission needed, but unusual or special activities are happening, and you are strongly advised to be vigilant. Think of it like a swim at your own risk sign. You can go in, but you need to be acutely aware because you're sharing the space with others who might not see you or might not be able to avoid you.
What kind of activities are we talking about?
All sorts of non-standard stuff. Acrobatic flights doing loops and rolls, gliders silently riding thermals way up high, skydivers falling, often without radios, paragliders and hang gliders with limited control, student pilots practicing maneuvers, and increasingly areas for drone R&D, maybe even testing drone swarms. These activities often don't follow predictable paths or use standard ATC communication like transponders.
So entry is legal, but you need to be careful.
Extremely careful. The core idea is assume other traffic and that CYA doesn't know you're there, won't see you, and can't avoid you. A lot of near misses happen in CYA zones because people get complacent or aren't actively looking.
And the risks, not legal penalties, but collisions.
Primarily safety risks, exactly. No legal violation just for being there, but the collision risk is way higher, especially with non-transponder traffic like gliders or skydivers. If something does happen, even if you followed basic rules, you could be found negligent for not exercising enough caution. That has serious legal and insurance implications. The mnemonic is cover your aircraft, protect yourself by being extra cautious, or caution sign. Others may not see you fly smart.
This is where it gets really critical for drone pilots, isn't it? Things like parachutists you can't hear, gliders you won't see on radar. How do we know specifically what's going on? Caution feels a bit vague.
Excellent question. And that brings us to a vital feature of CYA zones, the activity brackets. On your charts or in the D8H, you'll see codes like CYA123P or CYA220A. That letter, or sometimes letters, in the brackets tells you exactly what kind of activity to expect. It's your specific heads up.
So the brackets give the details. What do they mean?
Let's run through the common ones. P means parachute jumping. People descending potentially anywhere in the zone. No radio, no transponder, hard to see. You're invisible to them too.
Great.
A means aerobatics. Expect unpredictable maneuvers, loops, rolls, sudden climbs, or dives. Hard for a drone to evade.
Right.
S means soaring or gliders. Silent, often no transponder, riding thermals high up can descend fast. Very hard to spot. H means hang gliding or paragliding. No engine, limited control, also hard to see. T means training. Student pilots practicing, maybe circuits, stalls, forced approaches, can be unpredictable.
Makes sense.
U means unmanned aircraft system. UAS. Super important for drone pilots. Means other drones are active, possibly flying beyond visual line of sight. BVLOS, maybe autonomous systems that won't see you.
Wow, drone-on-drone risk.
Yes, and M means military use. Could be various special military activities like low-level helicopter training.
So those brackets are the key to understanding the specific risk.
Absolutely critical. They turn a general be careful into be careful of this specific thing, actionable intelligence.
That's incredibly helpful. Can we walk through some CYA scenarios then?
For sure. Let's apply this. Imagine CYA 123P parachute ops near Innisfail, Alberta. A known drop zone.
Okay.
Scenario. You're doing photogrammetry for a new subdivision. NAV drone shows your flight area overlaps CYA 123P. Action. First, check the DAH for the parachute club's operating times. If it's active, you really should contact the club or at least pause your flight. You must use a dedicated visual observer, VO, whose only job is scanning the sky above you for parachutes. Maybe plan your flight for early morning or outside their jump times. If multiple jumpers are coming down, it's a huge collision risk.
Right. Okay, what about aerobatics?
Let's take CYA 220, aerobatics near Springbank, Alberta. Often used for training non-transponder aircraft doing aggressive maneuvers. Scenario. Filming real estate, NAV drone warns about CYA 220. Action. Check DAH for activity times, now, maybe 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Zulu time, weekdays, if it's active. Best to reschedule or move your flight location. If you absolutely have to fly, use a dedicated VO with binoculars, constantly scanning. Monitor local air-to-air frequencies if you can, though they might not be talking. These planes can reverse direction instantly. Very hard for a drone to avoid. High mid-air risk.
And the drone-specific one, CYAU.
Yes, like CYA62U, Unmanned Aircraft Testing Zone. Scenario. You're mapping a quarry bordering CYA62U, used by a drone manufacturer for R&D. Action. Here's the thing, you both might be operating legally but unaware of each other. You must try to contact the other operator, info should be in DAH, and coordinate. Maybe schedule deconflicted time slots. If you can't make contact, proceed only under visual line of sight, VLOS, with a VO watching that boundary very carefully. Failure to coordinate could lead to autonomous drones colliding. It's a new frontier, requires communication.
That makes sense. And these are all over.
All over Canada. CYA 435 S2E66 for gliders near Invermere, BC, they can get really high. CYA 223T for training near Medicine Hat, ABCYA 128H hang gliding near Lumbee, BC. Some are even mixed, like CYA 103AG in Southern Ontario with both gliders and aerobatics demands checking with both groups. And watch for seasonal ones like CYA 445P near Moose Jaw, SK Quiet in winter, then bam, Twin Otter dropping 20 skydivers on summer weekends. These aren't just lines on a map, they're active, dynamic environments needing full attention.
Navigating the complexities and advanced insights.
Okay, so these zones, restricted, danger, advisory, they sound critical, sometimes intense. But you mentioned they're often invisible. If you're out in the field, no fences, no signs, how do you even know you're close?
That's a really important practical question. You're right. Most CYR, CYD, and CYA zones have zero physical markers on the ground. They exist purely as boundaries on aviation charts, like your VNCs.
Invisible lines in the sky.
Exactly. But just because you can't see the boundary doesn't mean it isn't monitored. Navi Canada, D&D, they have sophisticated radar, electronic surveillance. They track flights, including drones, RPAS. The rule of thumb out there is, if you don't see the danger, doesn't mean it's not watching you. They'll know if you cross that invisible line, often in real time.
That's sobering. Okay, and are they always on, or do they switch on and off?
Many are conditionally active, yeah. They might only be active during certain hours, certain days, or when activated by a specific NOTAM. So the CYR might say active Montfray 1300Z, 2300Z, or by NOTAM. If you're outside those times and you've confirmed no NOTAM is active, entry might be okay.
Might be.
Yeah, it's a classic test scenario. You're always expected to confirm, not assume. And here's a key point. CYD zones, the danger areas, can sometimes be active based on their regular published schedule without a NOTAM being issued for that specific day.
So calling to verify is even more critical for CYDs.
Absolutely. You're expected to know the published schedules or called to check. It's part of the permanent airspace structure info you need to have.
And can these special zones overlap with other airspace, like controlled zones near airports? Sounds like layers of rules.
Yes, they definitely can overlap, and that adds complexity. You might have a CYA advisory sitting over Class E or G airspace in a rural area, or you could have a CYR restricted smack in the middle of controlled Class C airspace near a major airport.
So what rules apply then?
Both. You must follow the rules for all the airspace you're in. So you need to obey the Class F rules, get permission for CYR, be cautious in CYD, CYA, and comply with the requirements of the other airspace class, like contacting ATC in Class C or D. It's like a layer cake of regulations. You have to satisfy every layer. You might even have a CYR that starts at, say, 1,000 feet, leaving the space below technically open. But you need to be super careful and verify those vertical limits in the DAH. It's always and, never either.
Okay, with all these rules, conditions, potential overlaps, what's the absolute source of truth? People use apps like NAV Drone, you mentioned NOTAMs, the DAH. How do they fit together? Which one wins?
This is probably one of the most critical points for any operator. Apps like NAV Drone are fantastic tools for visualization, for quick checks, for proximity alerts, super convenient. But the Designated Airspace Handbook, DAH, is the official, regulatory, authoritative source for permanent airspace definitions and rules.
The DAH is king.
For permanent structures, yes. An app might not have every single detail or the absolute latest update on a permanent zone description, but the DAH is the legal reference. You must operate according to the DAH. NOTAMs, however, are crucial for temporary changes. Sudden activations, new temporary restrictions, they override the DAH for their duration because they represent the most current, time-sensitive info.
So the process is?
The golden rule. Always cross-reference. Check your app, like NAV Drone, then check the DAH for the full details of any nearby Class F zones, and check for active NOTAMs. That three-way check gives you the complete picture.
Okay. What about common mistakes people make?
Good question. 3 big ones. Misconception 1. It's on my chart, but there's no NOTAM, so it must be inactive. False. As we said, Class F can be conditionally active based on schedules in the DAH. Always check the DAH.
All right.
Misconception 2. Danger areas. CYDs are restricted. I can't go in. False. CYDs are caution zones, not prohibited. You can enter, but you take all the risk. It's your call, your liability.
Okay.
Misconception 3. Advisory, CYA, just means optional. I don't really need to worry. False. Ignoring CYA is risky. Many near misses happen there. You're advised to be vigilant for a reason.
Got it. Any other advanced tips?
Well, just be aware some CYRs exist way up high, about 60,000 feet, FL 600. Usually for space or military tests, doesn't typically affect drones limited to 400 feet AGL. Also, DAH contact info can change, and old paper charts might be outdated. Always use current charts and verify DAH info online if possible. Regulations evolve.
And visually on the charts, how do they look different?
Clear visual cues. On VNCs, CYRs, restricted red light, have a solid magenta border like a solid wall. CYA, advisory, and CYD, danger, have a dashed magenta border indicating caution, not absolute prohibition. And they're always labeled with their ID, like CYA 123S. Visual recognition is a key pilot skill.
Okay, so it all comes back to planning and mindset.
Absolutely. Professional planning. To boil it down, CYR. Entry without permission, violation. Hard no. CYD, entry legal, but 100% liability is yours. Check status. Proceed at own risk. CYA. Entry legal, but high collision risk if not cautious and coordinated. Be aware. Share with caution.
And the sources.
DAH trumps apps for definitions. NOTAMs are for temporary changes. CYA brackets are vital for risk assessment. Overlapping airspace means follow all rules.
So it's not just memorizing rules, it's about a whole approach, a mindset of safety and diligence.
Precisely. Think like a regulator. If it's unclear, choose safety. Document your diligence. Can you defend your decision? Think like a top pro, a black badge pilot. Demand total awareness, proactive checks, respect for all zones, even legal to enter ones. Log your checks. Call agencies ahead if needed. Don't hesitate to say no to an unsafe flight. Your license, your gear, maybe lives, depend on that professional judgment. That's the difference between just following rules and truly operating responsibly. Outro.
Wow, that was, a really immersive, incredibly detailed deep dive into Canadian special use airspace. From that quirky why history lesson tied to railways, right through the crucial differences between restricted, danger, and advisory zones. We've covered a ton of vital ground.
Yeah, our goal was really to show that the sky isn't just empty space. It's this dynamic, layered environment constantly changing. Understanding these invisible boundaries isn't just about ticking boxes for regulations. It's fundamental for safety, for compliance, for operating any aircraft responsibly, big or small. Each zone, red light, flashing yellow, caution sign demands our respect, our diligence, our proactive planning.
And that really highlights why being well-informed is so crucial, doesn't it? It's not just knowing a fact, it's understanding the context, the why, and how to apply it safely. It turns information into practical wisdom.
Exactly. And as we see more technology coming in drones, autonomous systems, maybe even dedicated drone corridors someday, these invisible boundaries, they're only going to become more significant, more complex. The sky itself shows us how things constantly evolve and why we need to keep learning, keep adapting.
So maybe our provocative thought for today is this. As aviation tech races ahead with autonomous flights and maybe drone lanes on the horizon, how will these traditional airspace classifications need to change to keep everyone safe? Will we see totally new kinds of airspace, new why mysteries perhaps, emerging as technology and regulation do their intricate dance in the skies of tomorrow? It's definitely something to think about. We really encourage you, our listeners, to explore the Designated Airspace Handbook, check out tools like NAV Drone, and keep asking those curious questions about the amazing airspace above us. Thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive. We hope you feel much more confident, much more knowledgeable about navigating Canada's complex and fascinating skies. Fly safe out there, everyone, and we'll see you on the next deep dive. That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.